little longer practice today. I thought we got some good work in. Obviously, again, the roster is still a little bit in flux. People are traveling. Any questions?
You added Philip Dorsett to the team. What was your vision for him last year? Obviously, 20 catches, for like first down.
Yeah, there were two receivers that are going to be joining our practice squad. He's one of them. Look, we're pretty familiar with the player, and I remember I was at his pro workout. So, he gives you speed, transition. The rosters have changed so much in the last 5 years that you're allowed to carry more players. And when the season's over with, you'll see every one of these teams. We call it a practice squad, but really we have 69 players on a team, and it's just changed a lot. So that added depth, I think, for every team. COVID kind of really taught us a few things relative to personnel, and I think it's helped not only the clubs, but I think it's helped the addition for a lot of players to still be playing and developing. And but yeah, so with regards to him, we've got a clear grasp as to what we think he does really well, and we'll try to highlight those things.
You had just four receivers, obviously, not the initial, but to be able to add a couple of things like that and have them before.
Yeah, I mean, that's look. Remember, the art of the 53 sometimes is about protecting the most vulnerable or your assets that you think would be claimed or signed. I think the mistake sometimes is saying, hey, we need 5 at this position, 8 at this position, instead of the right 53 in order to really secure the roster the way you want it. And so you'll begin to see that take shape. And then, look, I said this yesterday, I just, from experience, the first week and a half, 2 weeks, beginning this time till, the next 2 weeks, you'll see the most roster movement around the league, and then it begins to calm a little bit.
You had high priority, and did you make a claim?
We didn't make a claim. We did stay late. But we were pleased with some of the additions and things we were able to do.
With the practice squad, what's your philosophy on keeping guys that have been here versus going outside, and when it's perfect?
I think if we feel like there's an upgrade, then we look at it closely. We kind of factor in a lot. It's a good question. And so, the meeting last night started with, the divisions, Atlanta, Arizona, all the way down to Tennessee, Washington, and every player's discussed, some very quickly, some longer, and then there's some tags that we apply to each player with each team, and then when the process ends, we go back, and now we're at 17 that we've tagged, and then we discuss, is it a claim tag or is it a practice squad tag, and it's pretty long. Then we go and begin to watch more film. Coaches then watch the film in the morning. It's a little different being on the West Coast because you've got to work later because your decision's got to come earlier. It is what it is. But I think the process went well.
Sean, did you use these days leading up to Monday as an extra part of game planning?
Well, it's a great question. We focused a little bit more on us. We'll shift the gears. We're working on Las Vegas right now, upstairs. Monday will be a Las Vegas practice. Every team in the league usually has a bonus practice Monday to start the season. The players are off Tuesday, and then here we go Wednesday. I think Wednesday's the next time we'll see you. And we might even open the locker room.
How is since he played, how has Javonte progressed, maybe even gotten healthier? And what's kind of your thinking about how much work he might get?
That's a great question. I don't know that we've sat and had that discussion relative to, week 1 pitch count, but it's a really good question. And that's something that's going to come probably as early as before Monday. Man, we're pleased, where we're at right now and how he's progressed and he's gotten in games. And, he is someone that picks things up quickly. But we'll have we'll have a balance, and not just he's one, but there'll be a few players that we've got to pay attention to that may not have had the volume compared to some other guys. And so I know it's a regular season game, but you still have to have a minutes plan or a plate plan, and we'll have that with him.
With David Sills, do you spend a little more time talking to Davis?
Absolutely. So in that meeting last night, when we hit a player and then he's tagged, let's say, then notes would be in the building. It might be a coach, it might be anybody that would have been with that player. We discuss whether it's a coach, a scout, but certainly with him, Davis had great insight.
You've had some great veteran players on your winning teams. With Kareem Jackson's been around him now a little bit. Where's that balance between the guy's a glue guy, but he's also is older, he's still able to?
Well, there's that old saying, I don't need to see it every day, but I still need to see it. And he is those things that you discussed, and we've seen it. And then it's, highlighting the things that we feel like he does well. So aside from the leadership and the toughness and the experience, what are the things on the field that are his strengths, and we try to put him in those situations.
Let's look like he was ready to go.
Yeah, look, he's coming right out of a camp, and so he flew in last night, was here this morning, kicked well today. He's healthy, and I understand the questions surrounding his health because it actually affected. Now, I wasn't with him last season, but he had that core muscle procedure that Riley had, and so he looked good. And we kind of knew. Look, we knew the battle that was going on there. There were a few other teams. I think there were like 4 or 5 that had 2 kickers, and aside from just looking at the local news, which kind of there's someone there charting every kick, we knew that he was having a really good camp, and it was a tough decision. And so that was one of 4 that we were paying attention to.
The last 10 days or so, how has Mike Ninkovich looked physically and also in terms of getting ranked up?
I think good. I think what was important, the joint practices for him, I think were significant. He wasn't going to play in the game, but if you counted the reps and you really studied how much we did against each other, it was beyond a game. And that was his goal, backing up, like, hey, being ready to get some good live work versus good people. And I think that really helped him.
How pleased are you with the way Russell Wilson has been able to pick up your offense?
Really good. Man, he's a tireless worker. At times we try to take tags he's familiar with in play design, because we're installing it for the first time, and if it's something that's clean for him, we can adjust. But today we added a couple things for third down and red zone that we think we're going to use throughout the regular season. So that today was kind of back to the earlier question. Today was still more install, a little bit more training camp driven than it was next week driven.
You mentioned starting on the Raiders upstairs.
Pardon?
You mentioned starting on the Raiders a little bit upstairs. Is the game planning part of what you missed last year?
A lot.
Chess matchup?
Yeah, just the film. And what you miss is you miss finding something, and then it comes up in the game, and then you win the game by whatever, and you realize, how significant. So all of us offensively, within the framework of our offense, are diving into the opponent, finding the right balance in week 1 of not having too much, but good answers. And, there's a little serenity. There's some quiet to the evenings where you're watching tape and you see certain things. You're always looking for behavior patterns from the opponents. And so when you're able to find something and then you see it work in a game, that's pretty fulfilling. And it's hard to get that anywhere else.
Sorry, Coach. What's your message to the players with them having this weekend off, yet being so close to the
Yeah, I haven't given it to them. Tomorrow we'll practice. We'll have a luncheon. Be smart. Take care of your bodies. Continue to work out. That you've got so much invested And I look, part of that is the right type of guys that are smart enough to understand, hey, what's at stake and what we're getting ready to start. And, that gets all the way back to who you're bringing in and who you're keeping and the right 53.
Russell has told us repeatedly, pressure is a privilege. From the outside, there's few players that feel like they're under more pressure. He's constantly positive. You have a biting sense of humor. Like, how do you mesh with Russell now?
It works. I think in the very beginning, all these guys, I'll be sarcastic with them and have fun with them. We try to create as much pressure as we can during the week so that when game day comes, you're reacting and playing. But this guy's been in tons of big spots, championship games, Super Bowls, throughout his career. And that's what, kind of puts him in that class where he's at. And look, he's got a certain expectation of himself. And so he's at a good camp.
Sean, I know it's probably next week we'll find the answer. How do you approach captains?
Yeah, Monday we'll spend time on that in the morning. Monday night we'll have a captain's dinner and we'll announce, who the captains are. And we usually don't have the rookies vote. We have the veterans. I mean, they just, but the players will vote on offense, defense, and special teams, and then we'll kind of go from there. And then typically each week we might have, a guest captain that is number 6 that moves around.
We had Jerry on here for the last couple. Was that
Rob Ninkovich, yeah. So Rob was, I don't know that I brought him here to remind ourselves of a good player leaving the building, but in our first draft, the 06 class, it was Bush 1, it was Roman Harper 2, can't recall a third. 4th round, Jari Evans, who will be a Hall of Famer at some point, right guard. 5th round pick was Rob Ninkovich out of Purdue. We didn't have a real good vision. So what I mean by that is we were an even front team. I don't know that the defensive coaches saw it the same as the scouts. It was a classic mistake that we didn't really have a clean vision. 7th round was Streif and then Marcus Colston. So a lot of over 70 years of playing time, and it ended up being really the pillars of our early success. And we released Rob. He went to Miami. He came back to the Saints a year later, and he always reminds me. I had a meeting with him, and I told him I thought he was going to have to be a long snapper to play in this league. And then the right team, New England. I think Belichick referenced this yesterday when he was talking to the media, because it would have been this waiver wire, and they had a vision that was clearer than ours, and he went on to play. He made an all-century team, 2 Super Bowls, outside linebacker. But he came in just to spend some time with our OLBs and spend some time with Michael Wilhoit and the defensive coaches. He's done media, but you hope that over 16 years there's only a couple of those. But he's one that got away, and obviously played well afterwards.
Thank you very much, Coach. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.